It's been a while since we've done an unboxing video for knives, and we have a whole bunch from different brands on the table. They range in price from $20 all the way up to around $200. Some really cool stuff here, so I figured we'd go ahead and take a look. Let's get started. Now, I am always on the hunt for a good deal, especially one that I can pass on to you guys, and I found this for less than $20. It is micarta. It is a flipper as well as a cutout combo in D2 for less than $20. It's kind of wild, I have to say. Even the action is really good on this knife. It has good detent, doesn't really have any detent lash. Flipper tab works really well. It's well positioned. It's got a really nice ramp. Even the sharpening choil is pretty good. Either way, I thought this was definitely something to check out, and it will probably stay in the collection for the simple fact that this is what's happening, is we are getting surprisingly good knives, and this is already so much better than most Gerber knives, for instance, that you'll buy in a store for like 50 and 8CR. Like, this is a jump up quite substantially over that in fit and finish, design, and everything else for a fraction of the cost. Overall, I'm quite impressed, and I want to see a little bit more. And I would really like to see a couple of the other content creators picking up this knife and doing it, with some real testing. Because if it turns out that it is D2 and he treated correctly, this would be a great option for people. And just surprisingly good fit and finish on a knife that's less than $20. Curious to hear your thoughts on these ultra budget knives in general. Next up, we have a slip joint knife from Real Steel. Now, this is sort of a hybrid modern slip joint, if you will, because it has a proper pocket clip that's really deep carry and can be easily reversed. It has really nice G10 with a nice milling texture, N690 blade steel. I actually got this because I have a business account for less than $30, and I thought that was quite a good deal for a knife of this caliber. I also really like that it has jimping and part of the tang is exposed. So even if you were to bump it, it's not going to close on you because of that exposure right there. I just like the way it's designed. It also has a nice half stop and a good walk and talk. Not super strong, but enough to satisfy the snobs out there who want something like more akin to traditional slip joint knives. Either way, very nice knife. I actually have this also that I purchased for talking about first knives, and how just because it's a slip joint doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad first knife, but there's a big difference between one designed in the right way and one that is potentially quite dangerous, like a Swiss Army knife. So that's why I got this, and I'm actually quite happy to have it in the collection as a reference point. If you can find this thing for around 30 bucks, it's quite a good deal. Now, I've actually had this knife for a little while, probably about 3 months. I bought it on Blade Runner's live stream on Whatnot. And if you ever want a really good deal on some knives in the whole range, all the way up to thousands of dollars, they are arguably one of the best live stream Whatnot sellers out there, and I got such a good deal on this, I could not pass it up. This is the less expensive version of the award-winning knife designed by Ken Onion in collaboration with Karbon, and this is an aluminum handle, which barely looks like aluminum. Realistically, it looks very much like the titanium handle, and it has 14C 28N. So all the same milling patterns, fit and finish, but at a much lower cost compared to the premium version of the knife. But you still get, wow, like crazy good action, just really good comfort in hand, beautiful milled titanium pocket clip. They've done a lot of things right here. In fact, this is a knife that's changed a lot for me, because I realized you can have a knife that's done perfect, executed really well, but if you're not truly a collector of knives, it's hard to justify keeping this. As much as I'm thankful to be able to try it, carry it, to have an idea of what it's like, I'm probably going to end up selling this again. Probably on Whatnot, in the near future. Simply because it just would sit in my collection, and that seems unfortunate for a knife that is this nice and really should be carried. Man, it is great. I don't know how else to say it. I mean, he did a phenomenal job. It is a very large knife, almost a 4-inch blade. The fit and finish, everything about this knife is just wild. So well done. But it's inevitably not going to get carried, and for that reason, it's going back in the box with very, very little wear and tear. And yeah, will probably end up being sold to someone else. Is anyone else kind of burnt out on really amazing knives? It seems like I don't have enough time to fall in love with one before another comes out. That's just kind of my feeling right now. I'm curious to hear your thoughts. Next, we have 2 knives from QSP, and here's the thing. I wasn't planning on buying either one, but both were going for such a low price at Blade Runner, I couldn't say no. The first one was a Swordfish, and I already have this knife, but I didn't have it in the micarta. Very, very comfortable in hand. I love the wire clip. Button lock, Wharncliffe design, 14C28N. I think I got it for like 40 bucks. I could not turn that down. I'm actually really surprised I won the bid for this. Either way, really, really great knife. If you get a chance to get them cheap, well, I mean, that's a phenomenal knife right there. But then this one, called the Dolphin. This is so different from what you normally see in a sub $100 price tag. You have 14C28N, this beautiful contoured wood inlay on the handle, a really unique way to approach the liner lock, and what I think is really remarkable is just how comfortable this handle is in hand. It just doesn't feel like it should be, but my goodness, it just locks in incredibly well. You will need, in order to disassemble this knife, the little tool that's included, so do not lose that. But I had to at least put my hands on this. I was just so curious about it, and it's as gorgeous as it appeared in the live stream. Just absolutely spectacular. Curious to hear your thoughts on knives like this, because like it's budget materials and it's a really nice price, but the fit and finish feels so far above. Like it really, really feels like a $200 knife. Either way, whoever designed this, they did a great job. Cannot say enough. Well done with the Dolphin. And yeah, you might want to check that one out. There's a bunch of different handle materials that you can pick from as well. Now this really is just too cool. Chavez came out with what they're calling their blue line. This is like a mid-range price point on all of their knives. In fact, a lot of these are between like 80, 60 to 80, all the way up to around 150, but yet they're the same models. They're just made in a place where they could actually reduce the price point. So it's such a great way to get the feel of a Chavez without actually having to commit fully to a $400 knife or whatever that happens to be made in America. I like that they have this combination so people can try a Chavez because it does have a unique feel. Now, first thing I love about Chavez is they always come with their traditional skull clip, which I would almost immediately change out pretty much always, because you gotta represent, right? And this is just more my style. They did have a bunch of other knives, but I liked this take on a utility knife. More often than not, this is what I use when I'm doing things with a knife. Any other things that I want to do usually come down to using a fixed blade or a chef's knife or whatever it happens to be. If we're being honest, this is the kind of folder that probably most people should carry. And I really, really like the way it's designed. It has a little push button right here. That's where it locks in. So you push that away, disengages with the utility knife blade, and then you can swap it around, put it back in, and you're ready to rock and roll. There's plenty of space up front for your thumb. Now, some of the designs out there, they try to utilize too much of this blade. The reality is you're gonna be pushing down and bearing down. You actually want to have more handle real estate and only half of the blade exposed. It'll also make the blade more rigid, which will be better for having that cut not walk on you. So I actually think this is a phenomenal design. It actually is on bearings, or is it on washers? Huh, I guess it is on washers, which I'm not upset about. No, it's bearings. It's just a little tight. Great action on this thing. It is a liner lock, micarta, and yeah, if you get a chance to pick one up, you probably will enjoy it. I am going to say, I think I still prefer the Exceed Designs Tyrant Razor for a couple reasons, one of which being that the the movement in the blade is a lot less. And I also think I like the thinner profile, but maybe not. It's, you know what? It's kind of just different because this is much more hand filling. Like if I was really going hard on something, I would prefer this one to this. But both are good. Both are good, and surprisingly, they're both kind of similar in price point as well. So both kind of around that $80 to $100 price. And for milled titanium clip, that includes with this or the full titanium body for the Tyrant, they're both really good. But I think the fact that you can get into the Chavez, well, that's awesome. I would definitely check out their blue line. I'm not 100% sure who is selling it, maybe Blade HQ. If I can find a link, I will send you directly there. But definitely check this out. This is super cool that they have these available. So last but certainly not least, we have two knives from Knafs. Now this has just recently been released. This is my Kickstarter delivery. And I thought these knives were going to be too small, but you know what? With the lanyard, they actually work really, really well. So it's kind of neat. They have this Saturn V rocket cone here at the bottom, and it fits perfectly with the pinky, kind of locking you in exactly where you should be. There are two variations, this one here in 14C28N with the really nice jimping I like quite a bit, and a drop point looking exactly like the Lander 3 or Lander 1. And then you also have this sheep's foot design as well. Now this one is in S35VN. Also kind of like the little, oh, did he actually sign this individually? I think he did. How cool is that? Did he do both? He did indeed. Now I can't tell for sure if he's done that by hand, which I think he did because look, I don't think the B is quite the same. That's very cool. So thank you, Ben, for doing that. That's very much appreciated. And these are going to be great little fixed blades that'll be very useful. I will say that, and there's no way to appease everyone, this is not the way I would personally carry the knife. Even though this is set up to be able to be carried in multiple directions, I'm almost exclusively going to carry this in pocket or, yeah, I don't know about neck knife, but something along those lines. I'm also likely going to knock down the edges to make it as smooth as possible, so regardless of where I store it on my body, it's not going to be sharp in any way. I do like, let me make sure I get the right one here. I do very much like the, oh, that was the wrong one. Here we go. I do very much like the push-off that it has, and I like that it's buried a little bit further in, so there's less handle exposed. However, what that is going to do is it's going to mean that the handle geometry needs to be relatively specific. Of note, it is open sourced on these handles, so you can actually 3D design and 3D print your own handles in different shapes. And actually, as part of the Kickstarter, they included the corn on the cob 3D printed handles. Now I'm not going to change these out for the video, but the thickness of those handles is going to have to match up with the thickness of the original handle in general so that the sheath works properly. That being said, you probably have a little bit of leeway because notice how it's mounted. It's not attached like firmly until further down, which means that if this were to spread out a little bit more, it would work. And actually you can see the adjustment part right here, which would allow it to expand. So they've clearly taken their time to design a proper Kydex sheath on this. So even if I don't like the clip, which I'm immediately going to change it out for a discrete carry concepts clip, which I have a bunch that I just got delivered. Even if you do that, like, it's going to work with pretty much any clip. Is basically what I'm getting at. So I'm pretty happy about these. Fixed blades are not something I ever sell, and they're something I'm happy to collect because, yeah, it's not the same category as a folding knife. I can get use out of fixed blades in so many different ways, more so than I think I could from any folder. That's just my opinion. But either way, I think these are a really, really good knife to have. As a small EDC fixed blade, I think this will end up being one of the better budget options available out there. Slip joints, locking folders, fixed blades, utility knives. We've covered a number of different types in this video, but I'm very curious to hear, what are your favorite knives right now? Which one are you carrying the most, if you're carrying a knife at all? As always, thank you guys for your time, and we'll talk again soon.